tú eres muy malo, roto el pato de vestuario. La interpretación siempre negativa, nunca positiva.
Welcome to Siempre Positivo. Getafe neutralised a soaking wet Johan Cruyff on Sunday as Barcelona continued their impressive form since the international break, winning 3-0. I'm Sam Marsden, joined by Rik Sharma and Tony Juan Marti. Rik, how are you? You dry? Nice and dry yet? After waiting for your taxi?
Yeah, dry. Yeah, do you know what? It wasn't too bad in the end. It was just that little 5-minute spell where I had a taxi ordered and the guy came. He drove all the way to the Johan Cruyff. I saw him coming from like 7 minutes away on the Free Now app. That's not an advert, by the way, because I hate Free Now. Don't use Free Now. It's an anti-advert. Do not use Free Now. Anyway, and this guy drove all around the stadium and then he got back on the motorway and started driving back into Barcelona without cancelling my ride. So the wait time went down to 1 minute and then it went back up to 9 minutes as he got further away. And I was like, what is going on here? And then they charged me €5 to cancel it, which they gave back to me this morning after I left an angry comment in the app. But yeah, don't use Free Now.
Tony, ¿qué tal?
Good morning. Well, fine, happy, thanks. I'm still a little bit tired. From the weekend, I went to the Basque Country. So, intense weekend. And now trying to be back to the reality, to start the week again with going to the gym, eating healthy. So we start again.
Yeah. For those of you that have come listening for updates on Barcelona Getafe on Sunday, we're actually going to bring you Alaves 1, Sevilla 2, the classic that Tony attended in Vitoria on Saturday.
Yeah, we managed to get some tickets from some players that we know, and we went to the game. And sometimes it's important, no? Because you need sometimes to check with your own eyes how bad La Liga is becoming in terms of show for the supporters. Okay, Madrid is different, Barca can be different, then you have a couple of teams that you can have fun with them, Villarreal, Athletic, but the average performance of normal teams in La Liga has dropped incredibly in the last 10 years. So the gap with Premier League is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because no one can have fun there. Still the prices are really high. The stadiums are not really crowded. So for me it was a little bit sad to check it that we are losing this competition as the treasure that it was. Well, of course that's related with the fair play, with the fact that now players from top teams from La Liga are signing for Burnley, for Nottingham Forest, which it would have never happened before. But yes, what I want to say that right now, if you don't watch Barca game or Madrid game, La Liga is getting less and less interesting in terms of eyes of someone who wants to enjoy a Saturday afternoon with their kids.
Don't use Free Now and don't watch La Liga. That's the start of the pod.
It's a good job this is a Barca pod and not a La Liga pod.
No, yeah, of course, there is no sponsor, no agreement with La Liga, as you can check. We don't get any money from La Liga. No, but to be honest, that's true. I have more fun watching a normal Bundesliga game or even a championship game in England. So yeah. So boring, Alaves Sevilla, so boring.
But Tony, not a late winner, a second half winner for Alexis Sanchez. Is that an indictment on La Liga that he can come back at his age and score the winner, be decisive in a game?
Exactly. No, perfect example. Perfect example as the Benjamin Button case. After 10 years, this guy is back and still scores the winner. So this shows you how bad is the level, no? Because He's a Tutankhamun. He's already dead to be there, but still.
Will you wear your Alexis Sanchez hat that I got you from Chile, Sam, in celebration?
What?
Was mine Alexis one? Yeah, I don't know where it is. I think it's been misplaced somewhere. Only because it got over. I did wear it quite a lot at one point, and I think it got like dirty or ripped or something. So I lost some care for it, but I loved it for a short period.
Yeah, it was loved too much. No, when I went to Chile in 2015, I bought Myself, an Arturo Vidal hat, and I bought Sam an Alexis Sanchez hat.
They were cool caps. They were cool. Insists the old man. Right, Barcelona Getafe. A potential banana skin for Barcelona on a stormy night in the city at the Estadio Johan Cruyff, but it was avoided thanks to a first half brace from Ferran Torres. The first goal set up by a beautiful back heel from Dani Olmo, and the second sucker punch on the counter. Rafinha from his own half, so beating the Getafe line and then feeding Ferran Torres, who was also onside and took his second goal really well. Should have perhaps had a hat-trick, but he thumped the bar. It was 2-0 at half-time. It finished 3-0. Olmo getting his goal in the second half, set up by Rashford after a great ball over the top from Marc Casado, who had just come on as well. We will talk about the match and the pattern of Barca's performances since the international break. But Rick, we're just going to start with a question from the question section on Discord. We will do a Q&A this week. We owe one on the Patreon, so we'll put a place out for you to put your questions in. But we're going to use this one now, Rick, because it's relative, from Maruthi. And he wants a spoiler. He wants a spoiler on the ratings. He says, will Ferran finally get a 10 out of 10 in the ratings? Or will Rick, the shark hater, Sharma, strike again?
No, he's not going to get 10, no. He had played very well, but a 10, absolutely not. Absolutely not, Maruthi, I'm sorry.
Incredible. Best
What would
question
you have given
we have ever
Lamine
received.
Yamal if he'd have scored those 2 goals in the first half?
I probably would have, and he gave away the ball that Ferran did a few times and so on. Did the rest of Ferran's game as well. I'd probably give him if you want a real spoiler, I'd probably give him a 9 Lamine, but maybe I can give Ferran a 9.5 because for him it was better than if Lamine had done that.
Yeah, well, it was perfect weather for the shark, wasn't it?
yeah, he certainly wasn't stranded. He was waiting in his element.
Yeah. I think Ferran's brace is what we've seen since the international break feeds into everyone at the moment, and it may just be short term, and it may be that, in 2 months we're talking about players being unhappy because they're not playing as much as they are at the moment. But what we've seen is minutes for all the forwards. Perhaps it's been boosted a little bit from Flick's point of view by the fact that Lamine has been injured, but we've seen braces in the last 3 games from Fermin Lopez, Rafinha, Robert Lewandowski, Marcus Rashford, Ferran Torres. We're seeing them all get minutes. We're seeing them all also get rest. For example, Rafinha yesterday was able to come off at half-time because he was on a booking.
And all those braces, I didn't give a single one of those players 10 out of 10 either. So it's not an anti-shark thing. It's just a fact.
I have received a message from a friend. He tells me, could you ask your podcast friend Rik Sharma if he's ever going to apologize for Ferran's treatment? That's the message that I received.
From F Torres in your phone book.
I think we should set like a bar. We should set like a bar for this season, and that Rick agrees to. And if Ferran Torres hits that bar in terms of whether it's goals or performance or some sort of levels, Rick has to do either some sort of public apology or some sort of Ferran forfeit. He has to go swimming with sharks.
Ferran forfeit.
Yeah, more than 15 goals, you have to make public appearance to apologize.
No, he's already got 4 in La Liga.
Okay, but still, 15 is good, no?
How many did he get last season?
20-ish.
I think he got 13 or 14. No.
Are you just talking about La Liga?
No, all competitions.
No, he got almost 20 last season.
Almost 20. Okay, then we can put the bar in 20.
Last season he had 19 in 45 appearances, but I don't know how many of them were substitutes. And he had 10 in La Liga last season.
Okay, so let's put
in La Liga?
20 in all competitions.
20 in all competitions. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good tally for him. It would be good. No denying that.
No, but now, without jokes, I still could feel until yesterday that there was not real debate in terms of. I think for most of the people was more or less clear that if imagine that there is in 2 weeks the Champions League final, Lewandowski has to be starter, even if with the classical speech of blah blah blah, but he's experienced and if he has one chance he will take it in key moments, blah blah. But right now I start to believe that if there was a final Champions League next week, maybe there were real chances for Ferran to leave Lewandowski in the bench.
I both agree and disagree with you, Tony. I agree with you in the sense that if the Champions League final was Thursday and they're playing Real Oviedo on Thursday, they're playing Inter Milan on Thursday in the Champions League final, it probably would be Ferran starting based on what we've seen so far this season. But where I disagree with you is I still think it's way too early. I was going through Barca's of the players you say who are titular in Barca's 11, the players who are definitely starters. And the players that are definitely starters for me are Johan Garcia, Jules Koundé, Pedri, Lamine Yamal, and then I think there's a bunch of players who you think are sort of 95% starters. So Kubasi, for example, Balde if fit, Frankie de Jong probably alongside Pedri, Rafinha. No, I'd add Rafinha to the original list of definite starters. If I think Rafinha's on that list too. And then you have the other positions, and I think that Lewandowski is starting to fall into that next down position, which is below those ones who are definite starters. But it's still early enough that if in 10 weeks' time he's built up some form and he's playing well and he's scoring again, I think he can easily be back in the starting list. Let's see.
But of course, that's what everybody imagines. But if Ferran keeps performing, you cannot drop him from the lineup, And still, you can see that apart from goals, he's bringing you like a dynamic profile as number 9 with like the assist that we saw against Valencia with Fermin. So I'm starting to think that right now things can change. So I don't see it easy for Lewandowski to change this dynamic because it's not the same also entering on the last 30 minutes. It's different. I mean, I know that there is a great relationship between Flick and Lewandowski and that they did history in Bayern München, but I have to praise the way he's being fair because everybody thought when Flick came that Robert Lewandowski would play always. And he's showing that he's not afraid of doing what he's doing to put Lewandowski in the bench, even if it's true. As far as I know, that still he's not 100% in terms of fitness or in terms of being sparkling, but being electric. But 4 goals for Ferran, the way he's playing, with the self-confidence that he's showing, I start to think that it's not going to be easy for Lewandowski, to change this situation.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of the good things about Barca at the start of this season. Well, certainly these last 3 games, which is the point I was making with the braces. But it's not just the braces and the goal scorers. Obviously, also in midfield, we've seen Casado come in when De Jong was out and then come on and do well. We've seen Fermin and Olmo both do well when playing as the 10. Centre-backs regularly changing. Eric Garcia playing all sorts of roles. It's a luxury which Flick didn't really have last season because of so many injuries, not because the squad's changed massively. But if you go back to that Osasuna game when Barca had pretty much played the same sort of 11 up until that game and they were forced to make loads of changes when they lost. This season, they're certainly being shared about a lot more. And the feeling is, Bordalas said it after the game, that Barca do have 2 strong players in each position. It does feel like that at the moment, doesn't it, Rick? Because even Gerard Martin, for example, is certainly proving a lot of us wrong, probably producing performances. Obviously, people might say only against X, Y or Z and real tests will to come. But he's certainly overperforming anything I certainly expected of him. It feels like Barca have a decent squad at the moment. The minutes are being shared around and the performances have been good since international break, followed on with this Getafe one, which is like everyone expects it to be some sort of banana skin sometimes. Although I do have the stats. It is a banana skin, to be fair. Barca don't often do well against Getafe, but they don't often lose to them. It's normally like a 0-0 or there've been 3 0-0s in the last 5 seasons. They did put 4 past them once, but other than that, it's usually just a 1-0 win. Yeah,
I agree with that. If Gerard Martin is going to be good or decent, if Eric Garcia is going to be good, if Christensen is going to be good, Rooney Bargi, we've got to see a bit more from him so far. Obviously came on yesterday and was a bit brighter yesterday than when he started against Valencia. But if he's going to be good, if Joffrey Torrens is going to be okay, I guess it doesn't matter too much if Balde's back. But if those players are going to be playing at a good level, then Barca have a fantastic squad because we know how good the top players are. And then if those second rung players are going to be good enough that you could play them, a bit like, I can't remember, I think it was Real Madrid in maybe 2016-17 season or one of those seasons around then when they had like an A team and a B team and the B team were as good as the A team with like Alvaro Morata was part of the B team, and so when Benzema didn't play, Morata played and he scored about 20 goals like Ferran Torres perhaps might this season or did last season, if those players are going to be basically as good and just as trustworthy as the A team, Barca have an absolutely fantastic squad. And I was actually, I mean, this is semi-adjacent topic. I was thinking yesterday, because Madrid obviously have won all 5 of their games, 100% record so far across all comps. So I was wondering if, because, as Tony mentioned at the start of the pod, we were talking about the general level in La Liga has got quite poor. I was wondering whether we're going to see one of those seasons where both Barca and Madrid don't drop points or many points outside of the games against each other. And it's going to be a season where they end up with getting to 100 points, that sort of level again this season.
Tony, do you think it could be looking like that? I think the fact that they've both made, like you say, Barca have dropped 2 points, they've got 13 from 5, Madrid still on 15 from 15. The longer that goes on, the more likely it is, just because you have such little room for error. And obviously teams want to win every game, but when the points are being dropped, etc., sometimes you can take your eye off the ball a little bit, whether it's in between and around Champions League games. At the moment, it feels like you can't really, because if Barca dropped points at Getafe last night, all of a sudden they're four points behind or whatever it is. Tony, do you agree with Rick? Do you think we could see big points hauls from Madrid and Barcelona this season? Because they've been relatively low by the previous decade standards over the last 2 or 3 years, haven't they?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's true that checking the table, the standings, I thought exactly more or less the same, no? That both Barca and Madrid are suffering a little bit in terms of result. If you see Madrid's result are not really big. 1-1, 2-1, 1-0, 1-2, but still getting the 3 points, and more or less the same for Barca, despite they conceded a draw against Rayo. So if we all agree, I think we all agree that they both will improve in terms of rhythm, and right now they are getting the results. Yes, I can imagine this kind of scenario, no? Because if I see Madrid still not 100% with what Xabi Alonso wants and with injuries, still getting these points, when they are better, it's even going to be easier for them. And Barca, without still not totally focused, the squad still managing to not to 3 points, so getting more points than good games, even if it's true that they are starting to play better last days. You can think that yes, they will drop not many points, less than the last year. Yes, I totally agree with this dynamic, because if when you are more or less bad, you finally get the points, when you are better, you can imagine that you will have better results. The only problem, or the fact that can make Barca or Madrid to lose stupid points, is with Champions League games, because at the end, don't forget that we have only played 1 game of Champions League, and we will have now several weeks of 3 games. And when you have hard games in Champions League against Chelsea or against Paris Saint-Germain, you can be a little bit tired the weekend, and there will be also some surprises. So I think it's also too early, because the Champions League at the end has a bill, has a receipt in terms of always punishing you for 1 weekend. So still will be interesting to see which is the bill for some top Champions League games. For example, the one that Barca will have to play against Paris Saint-Germain, or the one in Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good point. There are 8 Champions League games in the group. The competition's been expanded. Then there's that extra round if you don't finish in the top, whatever it is, 8. But so it is harder than it used to be to go and get those points totals. But what I will say, as what brought me onto this topic in the first place, actually, is what Sam was saying about Barca's depth. I feel at the moment quite happy that, okay, yeah, they play PSG, Barca, but they rotate 4 or 5 players out, and the guys who come in are going to be good. They've been playing well. Okay, so you have to play Lewandowski against whoever the Barca have got after PSG. It's not too bad if you play Ferran against PSG. And same with Madrid. Madrid have got quite a lot of depth this season. Like, you look at their attack, and Vinicius has been on the bench in 2 games. And obviously he hasn't been playing particularly well. He was okay actually, I thought, against Espanyol. Got a bit unlucky at the post and so on, but they can have fresh Rodrigo coming in to play these games after the Champions League, or a fresh Mastantuono if they played Brahim or whatever. It seems like, apart from Mbappe, Madrid have more or less pretty good rotation in every position.
Yeah, it is early to say that 5 games. And like you say, there are plenty of pitfalls in terms of the Champions League, but also in terms of squad management. It will become increasingly hard once the big games start coming around to perhaps keep some of the players who think they should be starting so happy, both at Barca and at Real Madrid, like you say, with the Vinicius and Mbappe situation, Bellingham coming back now, and Güler and Mastantuono all getting minutes. That'll be interesting to see. And obviously Barca have their own issues, so that can sometimes upset things a little bit, but it's looking like those two are going to be a long way clear, especially with Atletico Madrid dropping even more points to Mallorca this weekend. They look like they're going to be a long way short this season. Obviously time for them to go on a run. I think last season they didn't start so well either, and then by Christmas, January they went on about a 17 game, if not winning run, unbeaten run, didn't they? So I guess don't completely rule them out of. I would rule them out of winning the league, but I wouldn't rule them out of at some point getting themselves half back into the mix.
Yeah, they are a top 4 team. I was insisting on putting them 4th in our pre-season preview, and at the moment that looked kind of generous, but I do expect they will build up some form. The only thing is they signed so many players, so yeah, we knew it would take a while for them to get their ducks in a row. But if you actually look at the players they've signed, they aren't, apart from Baena, I don't think they're not like a lot better than the players they had before. I don't think the team's improved as a whole.
Yeah. And talking about the depth that Barca and Madrid have, it's kind of a point that Bordalas made, which I was going to come on to when asked about Ferran Torres' comments. Ferran Torres said that Getafe didn't really do anything apart from foul, and he said that Ferran Torres was disrespectful with those comments, basically because Barca have, I guess the implication, and maybe I'm slightly putting words in his mouth here, but the implication is Barca have such a big budget and so many good players and can do whatever they want. We kind of need to do what we need to do, which might be foul. Was that the implication, or am I being slightly unfair on him?
Well, no, I think it's fair. I think Ferran Torres' best action in the game was that shot, the second shot for his second goal. Brilliant finish inside the near post. Second best action was his first shot for the first goal, and his third best action was that quote after the game. An amazing quote.
Totally against this. For me, lack of respect. Claro, it's true. Lack of respect to go against Bordalas. And I'm starting to be tired for people judging about all these things. First thing, Bordalas, he never gets in troubles with people. So just let him alone. He's not talking about everybody. So everybody likes to talk about Bordalas. So first, lack of respect. As far as I know, in football there is a referee who considers that if there has to be a yellow card, there is a yellow card. So he's not doing nothing against the law. He's making fouls and he receives yellow card, Bordalas has really low budget. Last season, he avoided relegation with an amazing job, with a shit of a squad. Sorry for that, but that's the truth. This year, he's 8th position, 9 points in 5 games, 6 goals. Same number of goals of Athletic Club. But Athletic is not defensive team. Same goals of Athletic Club. More goals than Alaves. Same goals than Atlético de Madrid. Same number of goals than Atlético de Madrid. And no one talks about him. It's really easy to say that he plays shit, blah, 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 blah. Totally against those that are mistreating and misrespecting, tratando mal, bad treating Bordalas. I can understand that someone says that they don't like at all the style of Bordalas. Perfect. I can understand it. But for me, totally mistake of Ferran saying this, and even less that you are now in a good position in terms of scoring, best moment in Barca. Avoid these problems, avoid these things. Just be focused on your team.
I think it's perfectly legitimate for Ferran to say that after him and everyone else, and especially Jules Koundé, have spent 90 minutes being kicked. I think you can go out and say that, but Getafe made so many fouls in that game.
But which is the problem? Which is the problem of making fouls? Oh, there are also personal fouls in NBA. I mean, you talk about making fouls as if it was something prohibited, as if it was a crime. What's the problem? The law is built by this. If you want to change this, you go to the federation and you tell them that after 10 fouls, there has to be a penalty, and maybe they will change. But at the moment, the law is right now done like this. Why is Bordalás' fault? Why?
No. I don't disagree with Bordalas having his tactics as they are. I think that's a legitimate thing. I mean, I'm a Chelsea fan who watched Jose Mourinho win us leagues with some play that other people didn't enjoy. But if I was Ferran Torres, I would be rightfully annoyed if I'd been kicked by a bunch of Getafe players. It's perfectly legitimate for Ferran to say what he likes. You know,
No.
It's legitimate for Bordalas to set up in that way.
He didn't say what he likes or what he doesn't. I would have accepted this. His comment was not exactly this. Was like they are not proposing nothing. Like
They didn't. Yes, yesterday they didn't. They do in other games. Yesterday they didn't. They came to Barca and they were absolutely aimless.
They
didn't
wanted
get into
to
Barca's
do it,
half
but
in the
they
first
couldn't.
half.
Sometimes you cannot do more than what you try. I mean, you do your maximum, and the other team is better. So you can think that they are not proposing nothing. But yes, they wanted to have a low rhythm game, trying to be well positioned. I mean, sometimes
Even David Soria, the goalkeeper, said the same thing as Ferran, more or less, apart from the fouls. He was like, yeah, we were really, really poor in attack. We didn't.
Okay, but they had a bad game, but then you don't have to criticize, because why you have to criticize? Because you won. I mean, for me, it's a lack of respect, and it's easy to go against Bordalás. It's really easy.
But I actually think that Getafe are quite an interesting team in a lot of games, just not in these games against the biggest teams. When you see Getafe against, I don't know, Celta Vigo or Levante or someone, I think they're actually quite interesting to watch.
But
it's not how they set up against Barca.
But then you can. But first of all, you have to analyze your game, not the game of the opponent. You are no one, if you are Ferran Torres or whoever is your name, if you are a Barca player, to tell about the opponent. Be focused on your team, the performance of your team. You don't need to say nothing. But if it's the case that you want to talk about them, you can tell that maybe they were defensive, or maybe they were. I mean, you don't have to show lack of respect. Why Ferran has to talk about Getafe? Why?
Don't you think it's good that he did this when Barca have won 3-0, as opposed to if Barca lost 1-0 and then he was just complaining and whinging about it?
No. Of course, it would have been worse, because then it would sound like an excuse. What I'm telling you is that you don't need to talk about what Getafe does. Be focused on you. Yeah, we had a very good performance, high speed of the ball. We were very focused. We were very clinical. Talk about this.
That's what Hansi Flick did after the game. He was doing that, saying, "Oh, yeah, I won't talk about Getafe. There's no need to talk about them.
Exactly.
We'll just focus on
He
ourselves."
doesn't need to talk about Getafe.
Except during the game, he was absolutely livid. He was jumping up and down like a monkey on the touchline, raging at every time Getafe fouled Barca, hacked them down, screaming about potentially injuring players like Koundé, who got trampled about 6 times in a row, Jules Koundé. And between like minute 30 and minute 50, they just absolutely savaged him. I don't know why him. Maybe it's just because his close control was quite poor, so he was a magnet for drawing the fouls. But Flick was absolutely livid.
Yeah, Flick didn't say anything in the press conference, like you say. He said, "I want to focus on my team," but you could tell he seemed in a slightly different mood. And Helena Condis even said to him, she said, "Hey Hansi, why do you seem in such a sort of low?" I can't remember what the word she used was now, but why are you in such a sort of like disappointed, downbeat mood when you just won the game 3-0? I think she was maybe grasping for that, and he was like, "Oh, as managers, we play every 3 or 4 games. We also get tired, etc." He didn't sort of bite, but yeah, that was the implication. One more thing, just before we get the ratings, moving on from Bordalás ball, just to sort out the Marcus Rashford situation, because he obviously scored 2 great goals in midweek. I think the expectation was he would get the chance to start, but he didn't start. The latest victim of Hansi Flick's rules. Barcelona had an activation session meeting
latest.
at 11 a.m. on Sunday. The players have to check in at 9:30, and he checked in at 9:32, so was on the bench. He did come on in the second half, at half time, like Rafinha last week. Rafinha obviously also late on the activation session for the Valencia game and started on the bench, came on at half time, and it was the same situation for Rashford. He came on at half time, set up a goal. But yeah, I guess a little bit disappointing he didn't get the chance to carry on that momentum from midweek from the start. Rick, I guess just the concern from me is that it's treated with care and the context of Flick's rules, because obviously, there's been a lot of situations with Rashford and this sort of stuff at Manchester United. You'd like to think he gets a clean slate at Barcelona, particularly in the context of these being being Flick's rules, and until it's a pattern that he gets the sort of benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And by the sounds of it, it didn't sound like he was particularly late, and he wasn't late for any actual training. It was like a thing. And something I was reading on Mundo Deportivo was he was only late because he was filling in some sort of electronic form that Barca players have to fill in when they turn up, and he was just there doing it on his phone, and he was late for that. But I don't know if that's true or not. But that's what they were saying. But yeah, I mean, when I saw the lineup, I was like, "What? Rashford's not starting?" And then obviously within 15 minutes to start, it's because he was late, and then it makes sense. I wonder who the beneficiary was, because obviously Ferran played on the left in his spot, but I don't know. Would it have been Ferran, or would it have been maybe Lewandowski who came into the team? We'll never know. But
yeah,
because it might have been Rashford on the left and Ferran as the 9 if Rashford wasn't late.
Yeah, because obviously Lewandowski started midweek, but so did Rashford. Yeah, I don't know what it would have been, or even if Rashford would 100% have started. Flick obviously didn't confirm anything and said it was just to do with rotations and keeping players fresh. But the suggestion from Rashford's side of things is certainly that he expected to start. Okay, then let's wrap things up with the ratings.
Johan Garcia, 6 out of 10. Honestly, can't give him any other rating. He had absolutely nothing to do in a goalkeeping sort of capacity. Was a couple of good catches from corners or set pieces. But yeah, I mean, nothing to say there really. Jules Koundé, I'm going to give him a 6. It wasn't his best game with the ball. He obviously got fouled a lot, which is we talked about already. Eric Garcia, 8 out of 10. Thought he was very good. Christensen, 7.5. Gerard Martin, 6.5. Not too bad at all. I thought Frankie de Jong was very good in this game. I'm going to give him an 8. He made a lot of defensive contributions, tackles, interceptions, and so on. Pedri, always good. I'm going to give him an 8 as well. Dani Olmo, it wasn't amazing, but he did score a nice goal set up by Rashford. I'm going to give him 7.5, Dani Olmo.
And the back heel for the goal as well.
Back heel, yeah, to be fair, back heel for the goal was Ferran's first goal. Nice team move with Olmo setting it up. Rafinha, I don't think was very good in this game. I'm going to give him a 5.5, below his normal good levels. Although he did set up, Ferran's second goal, but it wasn't like a magical assist by any means. Lewandowski also not very good. I'm going to give him 5 out of 10, and I have to give Ferran Torres 9.5 as we discussed earlier. He hit the bar. He could have had a hat trick, and he was asked about that after the game. And he's looked at the interview like, "Why are you bringing this up? Why are you bringing my chance for a hat trick up?" And he goes, "Next time. There's more chances down the line for those goals." Off the bench, Rashford 7 out of 10 set up. The third goal for Dani Olmo was quite good, playing on the right, which is the first time he's been on the right for Barca, normally on the left. Then apart from that, not too much to say. I think Araujo came on pretty late. Fermin was quite good. He played on the left wing for a bit, and then he darted down the left wing, and I was like, oh, I never really imagined Fermin as like a left winger, but the pace he had to get down the wing and in behind was quite good. Rooney Bargi was bright as well when he came on, brighter than when he started against Valencia.
Yeah, a few injury concerns as well for Barcelona. Fermin Lopez ended the game with a knock. He's undergoing tests probably as we're recording, if not already had them. So we're waiting to see the severity of that knock. And also Hansi Flick has said Barca have to make a decision early this week on Gavi's meniscus and how they proceed. Obviously, until now, he's been having conservative treatment, hoping he will be back in a couple of weeks. Sounds like they'll have to make a decision pretty imminently on whether that is the case moving forward or if he will have to undergo an operation. So updates on that as and when we get it on the next podcast. Also the Ballon d'Or later on Monday night. I think that Ousmane Dembele will perhaps win it, but Lamine Yamal also still in the running, so that could be the need to push another podcast out. Get any questions in on that once the result is out on the Discord or on Patreon for this week's Q&A, and we'll also be back with a bonus podcast over on Patreon after that Real Oviedo game on Thursday. Barcelona away in Oviedo, their next game in La Liga. In the meantime, stay positive.